The second Hong Kong New Wave in cinema explores the social yet cultural issues of Hong Kong before the handover from Britain to China in 1997. Hong Kong's future as a vibrant cinematic centre was put in doubt when the British handed over the tiny nation to mainland China, and many of its most talented directors, actors and technicians fled to the West. Many of Hong Kong's residents were afraid of the change. They were fearful of the future due to the uncertainty of China's pledge to abide by the one country, two systems plan outlined in the agreement. They feared that China would drastically curtail the rights and freedoms of Hong Kong residents. The very latest auteur produced by the second wave, Wong focuses upon the problem of identity in Hong Kong. In this video essay, I'll be exploring how Wong portrays the theme of isolation, time and general social issues in 3 of his films, which were released around the time of the handover. These films are Chungking Express, Fallen Angels and In the Mood for Love. Chungking Express, filmed in 1994, contains 2 shorter films stitched together by only the thinnest of threads, set around the Chungking mansions in Hong Kong. Wong immediately captivates the feel of the location in the first few shots, conveying how busy and cramped Hong Kong was at that period of time. He does this by using the smudge motion technique in both filming and editing, where the shots can make the audience feel a little disorientated, especially when the camera is moving as much as it is in the clip. Variating from the point of view shots to the close-up shots of the lady in the blonde wig, this example ties into where parallel editing of the lady in the blonde wig running alongside the character of Cop 223 on the phone. Chungking Express, so memorable in the New Wave, is how Wong interprets the lack of identity in Hong Kong during this period. For context, the handover left citizens uncertain and scared of what will happen to their home, thinking that they will lose their voice and how they want to live, due to the one country, two systems pledge by China discussed before. Chungking Express explores this throughout all characters of the film. We hear Cop 223's name once in the entire film, and that's in the beginning of the narrative, which is voiced by himself. The lady in the blonde wig is never addressed by her name in the narrative either. This was an interesting move by Wong, considering that her character is seen for around half of the film. It isn't until the second narrative where Wong becomes a little bit more creative with the idea of loss of identity. Cop 663's name is mentioned once also. However, the characters in the film, including the Midnight Express workers, can't even remember the cop number, often mistaken with Cop 633. Although a minor mistake, this holds significance in the film and in relation to the handover. I believe Wong Kar-wai exaggerates this concept to sarcastically portray how people felt by the Chinese government, that they were all numbers that held no significance or voice in the country and how they lived. As said by Wong himself, I wanted to capture the mood of that period and show what happened to the first generation that grew up after the war, becoming uncertain and feeling unsafe in their own home environments. The soundtrack also holds a considerable amount of significance in Chungking Express. It is used commonly to evoke emotion of the characters during that period of time in the handover, particularly in the character of Faye in the second narrative. California Dreaming by the Mamas and Papas is heard continuously and marks for a stamp of Faye when she's in the scene. The repetitive lyrics of I'd be safe and warm if I was in LA and California Dreaming on such a winter's day acts as a referral to how Faye and possibly other citizens of Hong Kong felt living in Hong Kong in that period of time, feeling unsafe and uncertain upon their futures. The ideology of love is heard also within the soundtrack through the song Dream Lover, a cover of Dreams by the Cranberries, which is actually sung by Faye Wong, the actress of the character Faye. This describes her childish love and crush and fantasy of Cop 663, even though she never makes a move upon him. The romanticism of the characters in Chungking Express creates a tone of sadness as we never see a true happy ending, especially in the case of 663, as he mourns for the love of his ex-girlfriend who left her job for being a air hostess. Wong uses this device in both the first and second narrative to represent the continuous sadness of Hong Kong and the lack of conclusion in both social and personal lifestyles, due to the everlasting lack of identity we've held behind the citizens. In the Mood for Love constructs most of its social issues throughout the mise-en-scène. The narrative follows a man and a woman, Mr. Chow and Mrs. Chan, moving into a shared apartment with their spouses, 2 rooms next to each other. We later discover inexplicably that the spouses are seeing each other behind the two's back. What this leaves is Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow trying to adjust to their lives in their small contained walls, whilst over time incidentally falling in love with each other. The film also refers to time within the mise-en-scène. Wong Kar-wai's visual style is intricate and complex as well as relentless, using a ticking clock as its central metaphor. This is an obvious allusion to the 1997 syndrome yet again, due to the repetitive shots put together through the narrative. It's almost like the characters in the movie are fantasized by the idea of time, continuously watching in fear of the change of the handover. Although it may not be relevant towards the narrative of this film, Wong assembles and scripts the narrative to represent social issues of the time, which can be found surprising as Wong Kar-wai improvises a bit. Rather than working from a script, the director prefers to let actors develop their characters and dialogue, which offers various viewpoints to increase his evidence of life at the time. Wong develops his construction within the mise-en-scène creatively in The Mood for Love. This film is so contained that it features the same locations and shots at the same angle, almost like the viewer is going around in circles. An interesting take from Wong to represent the attitude of life at the time. This can also be shown from scenes in Chungking Express, where 223 eats pineapples every night until his ex-girlfriend May's birthday, with the date May the 1st, which expires on the tin lids. Rather than contacting May, 223 decides that it is his only option and sign of hope, when in hindsight he is hiding away from confrontation and reality. Back to In the Mood for Love, Wong expresses the characters of Mrs. Chan and Mr. Chow through gestures, rather than dialogue. This is due to the ideology that they are being watched and the fear of gossip from their landlords or society. I believe this is why Wong constantly uses double framing within his shots, a way of visibly showing to the viewer that the two characters are entrapped, but metaphorically by society around them, that they have to present themselves in a certain manner, an allusion towards traditional values the Chinese government were planning to bring over into Hong Kong after the changeover. The story details the two's emotion and love for each other, whilst hiding away from society due to the fear of judgment and gossip. This is a truly tragic love story. Finally, Fallen Angels, produced in 1995, consolidates the points I have raised above on what makes Wong Kar-wai unique as a director, in terms of representing the societal issues as a second-wave director in Hong Kong. Wong uses similar locations in this film to Chungking Express, particularly the Chungking Mansions and the Midnight Express restaurant. The film is in many ways similar to Chungking Express, in terms of the locations and more. One similarity I found immediately was Wong's use of westernised music like in Chungking Express. The character Agent is shown to use the music as a way to escape her reality and her love for Wong, the male character whom she instructs the killings for. The crossover between westernised and the cantopop genre in the Fallen Angels soundtrack sets an undertone for Hong Kong, a suggestion of the influence that westernised culture has had on the nation. The escapism of the agent could be taken deeper, a subliminal message for the nation longing for Hong Kong they already know. A further similarity is the lack of identity of the characters. As mentioned before, the agent is not named at all throughout the entire film, despite the character being featured for half of the narrative and having a considerably detailed storyline. This is also furthermore supported in the narrative as the agent doesn't confront Wong on her love, therefore leaving herself in the dark. A subliminal message likewise to Chungking Express about how the citizens felt in the dark upon their future of their tiny nation.